let's get into some games. The old rivalry, which I grew up on, Nebraska, Colorado. And now Colorado jumps into the AP poll. They're ranked 22 now after that win over TCU. Nebraska, another close loss, heartbreaking loss for Cornhusker fans. And just an aside, this is the game of my youth. When I think of college football, this is the game I think about. I grew up about 20 minutes south of Boulder. Those of you know I played there at the University of Colorado, but it was a dream of mine to play there, in large part due to this game. In fact, as much as Nebraska fans won't want to hear this, the game in 2001, the 62-36 victory for Colorado, changed my life completely. I was a fledgling minor league baseball player sitting in the stands with my best friend, and I thought to myself, boy, it seems a lot more fun to go and be a student at the University of Colorado than be a failing minor league baseball player. It was that day that I made the decision I probably needed to turn my life around, leave minor league baseball, and go back to get a degree. It was that decision that then led me to go to the University of Colorado, where I then walked on the football team because I thought it would be cool to run behind Ralphie. Lo and behold, I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to play for 3 years, and now I get to do this for a living. That day, this matchup changed my life. I love this game. It is college football to me, and I can't wait to see it and call it. To call this game is an absolute bucket list item. There's only a couple of more for me. Basically, it's a national championship game and a Rose Bowl someday. I mean, those are the two bucket list items for me in this profession. But you guys don't care about that. Let's get into the game. Okay. There's been a huge swing in spread, obviously, since a week ago. Colorado was the underdog for most of the offseason. Nebraska was favored by about 7.5. Remember, TCU was favored by 20. And then Colorado goes in there and wins that game. So that line changed immediately. First, you saw it down to Colorado was a dog by 1. Then all of a sudden they were favored by 1. Now they're up to 3 at this point and could be going higher than that as the money starts to flow in on Colorado. So there's been a major swing, and rightly so. Why has there been that swing? Obviously, it's the performance of week 1. What happened in week 1? Nebraska loses a close game to Minnesota. Colorado goes on the road and plays lights out and gets a win over TCU. Now, let's get into some of the matchups. The main point for Colorado on offense has to be to keep Shedeur Sanders clean. Okay, and as much as you could say, we got to get Dylan Edwards the ball, yes, you do. Jimmy Horn and Xavier Weaver, were they terrific? Absolutely, they were. Travis Hunter, we got to get him his touches and chances down the field. Yep, absolutely. But really the key is keeping Shedeur Sanders clean. This dates back, by the way, to his time at Jackson State. When clean, this guy is surgical at the quarterback position, and he was again on Saturday for TCU. When he was kept clean, he was 30 of 35, that's 86%, for 347 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, that doesn't mean that he was bad when they had pressure on him, but when he's clean, man, it's lights out. This guy had one of the best performances I've ever seen from a quarterback in a Colorado uniform, and I've seen a lot of them. He made clutch throw after clutch throw. He was able to manipulate the pocket at times, get himself loose, buy time, and get the ball down the field. He was accurate. The ball was on time and on target, and he's got some really good wide receivers on the outside to throw to, one of them being Jimmy Horn. That's the key for this offense. As much as you want to say, we'd like to get the run game going a little bit more. Yeah, that would be great. And oh boy, I hope we throw the ball as efficiently. Yeah, that would be great. How does that start? With time. What does the run game give you? It gives you the element of at least some surprise, throwing it when you want to rather than when you have to. And that allows you to keep the quarterback clean. I think it'll be more difficult, by the way, than it was against TCU. I thought TCU's pass rush was going to be more dynamic. It wasn't. Even though they got to Shedeur a couple of times, it wasn't that dynamic. For the most part, he was kept clean. Like I said, 35 pass attempts when he was, quote, clean in the pocket, and he shredded them, absolutely shredded them. Should be noted, there was a targeting in the second half of the Minnesota game, and Ty Robinson won't be in the first half now of this game. He is a really good defensive lineman, and that's not going to help Nebraska because if they can't get to Shedeur, that's a problem. Their secondary is not as good as TCU. It's not as athletic. And so if Shedeur is clean, Colorado's going to score a lot of points, and they're going to throw for a lot of yards. There's not a doubt in my mind. That's the foremost matchup in this game and what you have to be watching for in this one. Now, on the other side of the ball, Nebraska will not make the same mistake. And how many times have I said this? Like, they will not make the same mistake that TCU made. TCU threw the ball way too much. That's playing right into the strength of the Colorado defense, which is their secondary, their skill positions, throwing it at Travis Hunter. And the safeties, I felt like, played pretty well. That's a problem that TCU brought up upon themselves with the way that they called the game. Nebraska's not going to make that mistake. You go back to what they were able to do against Minnesota. They ran the ball fairly effectively, and they did it with their quarterback, Jeff Sims. He ran it 19 times for 91 yards. That's almost 5 yards a carry against Minnesota. And remember, that Minnesota defense was a top 10 defense last year, both scoring and total. Gabe Ervin, he only got 7 carries. That should increase. If I'm the Nebraska coaches and I watch that film, I'm looking at Gabe Ervin and I'm thinking to myself, like, he's got to touch the ball more. I don't know why he wasn't in the game on the last series. He's their best option at back, and he's big and powerful. He's over 200 pounds. Sims is over 200 pounds, and that's an area where Colorado really struggled against TCU, was trying to stop the run, in particular in the second half. Colorado came into this season, and I think one of the knocks or one of the things that we would all say from the outside looking in is that one of their deficiencies as a team was going to be their defensive front seven, how light they were. There's questions at linebacker, and I didn't know how well they would stop the run. You're about to get a heavy dose of run. I think Nebraska is going to run the ball well over 50 times. I think Sims is going to carry the ball over 20 times. Ervin over 12, 15 times. It's going to be zone read, quarterback power. That's going to be really difficult for Colorado to stop. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. So we might be in a situation where this is last team to touch the ball again. It might be the exact same scenario that we were in week 1 when Colorado was at TCU and neither defense was getting a lot of stops. Now, Colorado's defense made the important stop at the end on 4th down. Good on them. However, the guy who made that stop, Miles Slusher, not in this game. So he's banged up and won't be in there, and depth was always going to be a question when they were going to turn over the roster like they did, 68 new scholarship players. Depth is always going to be a question. Depth is going to affect Nebraska, just like Colorado couldn't afford to lose defensive players. Nebraska couldn't afford to lose wide receivers. They don't have much on the outside, and really their best guy probably Isaiah Garcia Castaneda. He had 5 targets in week 1, tore his ACL. So he's out of this game. Again, heavy dose of run from Nebraska. If I'm Colorado, I'm putting my outside guys in man coverage. I'm letting Travis Hunter run around in man coverage, and I'm committing every resource to stop the run. I would force the game onto the shoulder of Jeff Sims. If they do that, I think that they've got a decent chance. I won't make a pick in this game since I'm calling this game, but that's really where it's at. This game is about Colorado's focus level. If they come out and if they're focused like they were and motivated like they were in week 1 and play clean like that, I think that they can win the game, or they should win the game based on what we saw in week 1. But this is going to be tough because Matt Rule's group will fix the problems that popped up against Minnesota, and they won't make the same mistakes that TCU made. So everybody telling Colorado and all their players and all their coaches how great they are all week, that is like kryptonite to success. All right? A team's focus and energy and urgency in practice is why they play well on Saturday. It's really tough to get a team to focus, have energy, and have urgency during the week when everyone's telling them they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay? That's the challenge for Deion and his staff this week. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.